Hi everyone, it's Karnak, Star Wars Armada Explained. It's your buddy, it's your pal. Thanks for joining me. We're going to be looking at the Officer Bail Organa today. So, Bail Organa is one of the cards I'd refused to do a video on until FAQ was released for him. There was, so I'm finally getting around to doing him. Um, and so Bail Organa is an officer I really enjoy, and you don't see him terribly too much in gameplay, which is interesting. But let's jump right in to his card. So Bail Organa, if you look at the bottom left-hand corner of the card, you'll see that he does equip to the officer slot based on the icon there. Opposite of that, you'll see his faction specific for the Rebel Alliance at 7 points. If you look at Bail's name in front of it, you'll see a little dot or bullet point signifies he is unique. You can only ever have one Bail Organa in your fleet. The text on the Vassal version here is really crummy, so I'm just going to bring up my Karm, read it off here. So card text, medium or large ship only. After deploying fleets, you may place one round token on this card at the start of the ship phase of the round matching that round token. If you are the second player, you must activate. If you are the first player, you may gain up to 2 command tokens of your choice. There is an FAQ for this card. It reads, you cannot resolve this card's effect to assign a round token to this card if the ship this card is equipped to is set aside. If this card is discarded by an effect such as Darth Vader, the boarding team, it is no longer active in the game. Okay, so what does all this mean? Let's break it down. So, in a nutshell, this card allows you, if you're second player, to activate first a ship first with that card is equipped to, rather than first player. And if you are already first player, well, you get a side bonus of you get some tokens out of it. So what does that mean in terms of gameplay and what is all this stuff? Again, we'll break it down. So as it says there right up front, medium or large ship only. So the only ship Bail Organa can equip to is the Assault Frigate, because that's the only medium ship they have. Any of the MC-80 Liberties, any of the MC-80 Home Ones, any of the MC-75s, or the Starhawk. And I'm going to touch on the Starhawk here in a moment specifically. But let's do a quick rundown again of this card. So after deploying fleets is a very specific point because, for example, if the ship that he is equipped to is set aside by an effect, such as, for example, the objective hyperspace assault, or for example, Admiral Radis's ability. So we'll say that Bail is set on this MC-75, Radis tucks it away in hyperspace, so it's technically never deployed on the table in the after deployment phase. You cannot set a round token on this card as ability because anything that's not deployed is considered not on the game table and therefore not in game effect. So that's why you don't want to equip him to a ship that you plan to set aside, because then you won't be able to set the round token to utilize his card effect because you missed your timing window for when you can do this thing. That's why there's the FAQ here that says you cannot resolve this card's effect to assign a round token to this card if the ship this card is equipped to is set aside. What about if the card is somehow forced to discard before you reach the round where it's supposed to activate? And we'll get to that just real quick. I'm getting ahead of myself. So in a nutshell, how does this work? You set the round token. We're going to say, on round 2 is when this ability is going to resolve. And let's say in this instance, I am second player. So the Imperial player, he flies up with his ship. He's like, aha, I'm going to get you next round. And you're like, no, see, son, I'm going to fly up over like this. I'm going to double arc you. And then at the start of the second round, you're like, aha, typically you would have activated first and you would have blown me to pieces. But guess what? I've got Bail Organa. I'm activating first now. And I'm going to, shoot you a whole bunch. And then I fly off, out of your very dangerous front arc. And that is, in a nutshell, how Bail works. He's the anti-first player card. He's great on large ships. That's mainly what Rebels have anyway, and I think he's really good on MC-75. Some people take him with the Liberties. But if you aren't second player, where you are guaranteed that activation with that card, you get 2 tokens. And so what I'll often do, especially on large ship, is I'll set them to round 1 as first player and just nab my 2 tokens just right when I need them, just right there, so I don't have to worry about them. Now, it is very specific, though, just to make sure I'm being absolutely clear on this, is that if you have Bail equipped to this ship, you must activate that ship first if you're a second player. You can't choose to activate something else. You have to go. You gotta go. You gotta do this thing. So you have to activate that ship. So if you're in a dangerous situation, like he's got your MC-75, tagged or wanting to shoot, but also poor little Corvette. Well, poor little Corvette's gonna have to just blow up because your MC-75 is like, you stay here, I'll go get help, and he'll take off running. So that's something you do need to be aware of when you do use Bail on your large ships, is that veteran players will create these kinds of forks if you let them, or not if you let them, but if you allow yourself to stumble into it. So be careful with that. All right. I think I've kind of covered some of the other aspects I needed to cover here. So again, in short, can only be equipped to medium and large ships, and they have to be in the after deploying fleet's timing in order to be able to set the round token for the round token that ship as second player will activate first, or it will gain two tokens, or 2 tokens of your choice. I wanted to read something here real quick. So, and I do want to state that if you are first player, that ship doesn't have to activate first. Because it says there, if you are first player, you may gain up to 2 command tokens of your choice. So instead of forcing the ship to activate first, it just automatically gains 2 round tokens. And you, as first player, can still decide what ship you want to activate first. So you're not forced into activating that ship first. Okay. Let's talk about Darth Vader. So if Imperial does have the Darth Vader boarding team equipped, if he does fly up and manages to slice off your Bail Organa before you reach the round that he has been set to, that effect is discarded. It's no longer in play. Obviously, you won't be able to slice this card off if he does reach the round he's supposed to reach. But, for example, let's say that this round is set to 2, and somehow on round 1 you manage to reach that MC-75, or it's on round 3, because that would be possible. It's on round 3, and in round 2 you fly up and slice off the card. Again, the defect is discarded. You no longer have that benefit moving forward. Can't resolve it. All right, that's what Darth Vader does. He's the only one who can kill officers, by the way. We already covered about being set aside. Again, can't set the hyperspace token if you're set aside, or not the hyperspace token, the round token. What about Profundity? And I've seen people try to shimmy their way into this one. So Profundity has it to where, you can deploy a Command 1 ship at the start of a round. And some people are like, oh, well, I'll set Bail on something like a CR90 or a Hammerhead, and I'll just pop that bad boy out with Profundity, and I'm going to move Bail from my large ship to the small ship. No, because Bail still has in his card text medium or large ships only. Okay, because for Profundity you are technically unequipping and then re-equipping to the CR90, and all fleet building rules still apply when you're unequipping and re-equipping. Okay, that's why Bail can't go on small ships via Profundity, because again, that restriction is still in place. You can't move Bail to a small ship because his equipability will not allow him to do that. He has to stay on the ship that he's equipped to. Unless, in the future there is a way you could move him to like a medium or a large ship somehow. All right. Want to make sure I was covering that. So no Profundity shenanigans, Bail moves to other ship, blah, blah, blah. Okay. What about the Starhawk? What about if you've got Bail and Strategic Advisor both on the Starhawk? What happens there? Well, again, if you're second player, you must activate first. You can't delay it with Strategic Advisor and be like, no, I'm choosing not to activate. Well, no, that's not what it says. Bail says you must. And in game terms, must is the opposite of cannot. It means you have to do this thing unless there's some other rule effect that otherwise would prevent it from resolving. So, no, with Bail, you can't strategic advisor and hold off on the Bail. Bail punches the advisor in the face. He says, "We're doing it live!" And the Starhawk has to activate. And to follow up on that, since the Starhawk did activate and did move, then you're no longer able to utilize Strategic Advisor, because Strategic Advisor can only be used if that ship could activate. And since it already has activated, you just pretty much don't use those two cards together. You're not going to get a lot of mileage out of them. Or do use it and prove me wrong. But that's Bail Organa. I'm going to make sure I didn't miss anything in the Karm here. So again, we went over about you either activate first the second player on that ship, and or you get 2 tokens if you're first player. We went over about being set aside. If Bail is discarded, he cannot resolve his effect anymore. And we went over the Starhawk. Perfect. Well, that is Bail Organa. And again, thank you guys for continuing to support my channel, watch these videos. You're all fantastic. And hey, I'll catch you all next time.